Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. We continue your fix of football throughout the summer season with our Legends series, and I'm absolutely delighted, Roughie, that we can welcome Pat Stanton. I think it's fair to say Hibernian legend, and of course also etched his name in the history books at Celtic as well.
Yeah, he did, and I don't know if Pat would agree with me at Hibs. You know, obviously we talk about the famous five, you know. I think although Pat wasn't a part of that, I think he must be up there with him as well.
Yeah, I love the line, Pat, and maybe you remember it from a previous interview somewhere. You felt as if your guys were the last of the romantics.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It was just things have changed. The games, it's more commercial now. People move around. In those days, people didn't move so much. And I suppose, you know, distance lends enchantment. You like to think that that was the last days when people really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, I'm going to slightly embarrass you with this next line, but when I had a quick chat with Gordon Strachan, we were walking around the parts of Edinburgh that he loved so much. He obviously walked around Easter Road with me, and he said, you know, one of my favourite players was Pat Stanton because he looked like a movie star when he went out there in his hip strip playing football.
Well, that's very nice of him to say that, but there was some Saturdays he wouldn't have said that.
I mean, the great thing about not only yourself, but the guys that you played alongside, and I'm going to get Roughie's thoughts on this first. We talk about great teams. When I was growing up, you know, as a boy, I always looked at the Hibernian side and thought, just sensational, player after player after player that you could rhyme off that was absolutely top drawer. And as Pat mentions, they're all from a lot of them are from the local area.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem at particular clubs. You know, the supporters remember the legends that they were talking about there, and the people who come after that can't really live up to the success that they had, and that's why there's a lot of pressure on players who go there and are reminded of the people that you're talking about, and it's a hard act to follow sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to. What about that, Roughie? You happy with that? I mean, that is... What age were you there, Pat?
Oh, I'd be in my late teens, I would think.
Looking good, Roughie?
No, I'm looking at the boots. Adidas, that must have been a good sponsorship then.
Well, the boot boy did a good job with them. You know, they're sparkling, but no, I think that was the old jersey that they wore, and that'd be the old orange-coloured ball at the time, but... it's much easier when there's nobody else on the park to hurry you up.
Yeah, you looked as if you were in complete control there. Although I have to say to you, when I watched you, you always looked as if you were in complete control anyway. How did it all... I mean, I know you were at Salveson Boys Club. I mean, how did it all come about for you? Was it a dream come true?
Well, my family, you know, my dad, a Hibs supporter, my family were all Hibs supporters, and it was a gradual thing, you know. And I'd heard my dad talking about the Smiths and and the Turnbulls, the Ormonds, people like that. And eventually, when you got old enough, you would go to the games, but you never at any time thought you would see yourself on the park. And that was a real great, you know, for me, coming from the part of Edinburgh I came from, to run out the tunnel onto Easter Road was a real big thing for me.
Yeah, not a bad debut for you. Did you not score in your debut against Motherwell?
Against Motherwell, yes. Actually, I thought it was a missed kick. If the goalie had read the missed kick, he'd have saved it, but it went in. But I remember one of my first games at Easter Road, they played me as an inside forward. I never fancied myself as an inside forward, but then one of the other early games I played at Easter Road against Dundee, and Gordon Smith was still playing for Dundee at the time. They'd won the championship. Alan Gilzine, people like that, Ian Ure, Andy Penman, great side. We played them at Easter Road. They beat us 4-1, but I can remember that game when I played left half and Smith was outside right, and this man was my dad spoke about him all the time, and the manager, and people tell me, and I found out in later years that was Gordon Smith's last game at Easter Road as a player, and it was my first game at Easter Road as a player, you know. So, but I can remember just before the game, the manager at the time, Walter Gilbray, saying, if you get a chance, you know, kick him. Try and slow him up. And
yeah.
I couldn't get near him, you know. But I remember at half-time, Galbraith says, you need to get closer and really thump him if you get the chance. And I looked at Galbraith, I says, well, that's all very well for you saying that. I says, I have to go home at night and face my dad.
Yeah.
I says, if I kicked Gordon Smith, I'd be in trouble.
I remember the day we were coming out Easter Road and we saw the big photo of him up on the wall as you come down the stairs at Easter Road, and you were telling us he was a bit of you know, with all the Beckhams and all that now. Of his era, he was that kind of player, you know, he had all the flash cars and all the flash stuff to go with it.
That's it. He was a handsome man, and apart from being a fabulous footballer, he was a handsome man, dressed well, you know. He went to Austin Reed's when you didn't know about Austin Reed's.
No, I remember it.
And he drove a Porsche.
Wow.
You know, and you didn't know what a Porsche was either. But he was a man, and he mixed. He went to France and places like that, and he mixed with the sort of high society in France, you know. So I think he was quite friendly with Sidney Bechet, one of the great jazz players, and a wee bit different for O'Rourke and I.
I was just about to say, did anybody know Sidney and Craig Miller?
Well, we were friendly with the singer in the Pally. You know?
I've got to ask you though, I mean, was he your hero?
I think, I appreciate him. The player I admired was Smith, marvellous, but Joe Baker.
Yeah.
You know, when you think that Joe Baker got capped for England while playing in Scotland, that doesn't happen too often.
No, absolutely not.
And such a nice man, you know. And he was always full of advice, you know. He would give you, he sort of tell you, Alan will tell you that, you know, if you get guys, there's lots of guys in the game that would like to help you, but it's like good teachers, bad teachers, they can't impart their knowledge. Whereas Joe could tell you things to look out for. Him being such a marvellous forward,
yeah,
just to what to look out for. And you picked it up as you went along. But if you can get people like that, that's what helps you. You know, people in the park help. Just as you're about to make the mistake, they tell you to do something different, and you pick up quicker.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just on that point, Roughie, because when I was in Edinburgh as the sports editor at Radio 4, you know, I had the good fortune to get co-commentators, and I had Sandy Jardine and also Joe Baker, you know, God rest his soul, but, you know, just getting a chance to get a wee insight, even scratch the surface of being in their company. And he was a lovely man, but again, even I wouldn't have known the enormity of his achievements, you know, playing in Italy, you know, alongside, you know, Dennis Law. It's very rare to go out and go and do that as well.
That was in a time when people didn't move around, you know. Bobby Charlton played for Man United and Billy Bremner played for Leeds, and people didn't move around, you know. And then it started to move, you know. I think in years gone by, beyond that, you know, John Charles playing for Juventus, that was a rarity, really.
Yeah. But
you know, people didn't move about quite so much in those days.
And everybody has that comparison of modern day and going past players. Would Joe Baker have fitted in modern day football?
Oh yeah, I think if you're a good player, you'll be a good player in most eras. But Joe had terrific pace, and he knew when to use it. You know, Joe Baker wouldn't start running past you on the halfway line. He would do it 20 yards out, so you couldn't get back to him. You know.
It's a great insight, that, isn't it? I mean, just that little nugget there. You know, he doesn't start running at the halfway line.
No, you play to your strengths. That's what it's about. You know, and his record speaks for itself.
Yeah, I've got to ask you: did your dad get to see you a lot when you were playing for Hibs?
He did, yeah. But it's as good as it got. He would, you know, you were okay. You know.
Yeah. You wouldn't have had it any other way, surely.
Oh, that's right. But that was about as good as it got. You were okay.
Yeah.
But I knew deep down he loved it. You know.
Yeah, it's great actually, because you know you can empathise exactly what Pat's saying. Your dad followed you everywhere.
Well, my dad followed me everywhere. My dad, I mean, I could actually see my dad in the stand. You know, and during the game, you know, I could see exactly where he was, because I knew round about him. You know, it was never my fault. It was always everybody else's. You know, and you could see him, and that's what dads were like. You know, they were so 100% behind you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I played with Bonnerick Rose, and we played Glenafton 3 times at Firhill, and my dad came through to the 3 games. You know, and Glenafton, I think they got beat with Irvine Meadow in the final. But in the almost last kick of the ball, we hit the bar and it bounced back up the park and they scored the winner. So, but he was through, you know, because when he finished his work to get up the town and get a train through or whatever, 3 times to go and see us getting beat, you know. But yeah, it brought a lot of pleasure to him.
Yeah, I'll bet you it did. Listen, this is a labour of love getting a chance to chat to Pat Stanton. We're going to talk about the Hibs, Scotland, and of course most of his career. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. We're on the Legends campaign. Pat Stanton of Hibernian joins us on the couch. It's almost Hibby-tastic today, Roughie, chatting about the green and white side of Edinburgh. I noticed you mentioned there that one of the games you were playing inside forward, but you know you had a situation where you had some managers thought you were a midfielder, some managers thought you were a defender.
Oh, that's right. When Jock Stein came to Easter Road, he played me at the back alongside John McNamee, and I was quite happy. That was where I wanted to play. But when Jock left and went to Celtic and Bob Shankly came in, Bob pushed me into midfield, and I could just about get away with it in midfield, and that's where I played the rest of the time. But when I left Hibs eventually, at the end of my career, to go to Celtic, I played in the defence again. Yeah. So all these years had gone by, but Stein hadn't changed his mind. He reckoned I was better at the back. Did
you think you read it better from the back? You could see everything in front of you at the back?
I was happier looking at it, you know. Just I found midfield could be hard at times, you know. And, you know, defenders play longer than midfield players, you know. Midfield players run out of gas about late 20s, and the old defenders play away into their 30s.
Yeah, see, you were even thinking about it then. I've got a, but on that point then, as you look back, do you think, you know, we think of you right now, without blowing your trumpet too hard, we think of you as a great player, but do you think you could have been an even better player, maybe getting even more caps, if you had played in the position you felt comfortable with?
Probably, yeah. I was much happier playing there. You know. It was a game that suited me. Like I say, midfield was fine. Like I say, got away with it, but maybe it was because I sort of contributed the odd goal from midfield. I think that's what kept the managers using me there. But it was significant that Stein didn't see it that way. Yeah. And those years had gone by, and he still maintained I was better at the back.
And here's the better point then. Do you think if you had been a player with Jock Stein, you know, for a longer period of time, he would have made you an even better player?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Because when I left, when he asked me to leave, well, he got permission to speak to me before I left Easter Road, and all he said was, we're losing stupid goals, and you have to come through here and just play at the back and pay attention. Yeah. And that's all I did. I don't think I went over the halfway line. I just played at the back and sent Big Roddy to attack everything, and I played at the back, getting away with murder. Yeah, well, to be fair, I mean, if I'm honest with you, I can remember games when I thought, why is he out there with a cigar and I can hear the Hamlet theme in the background? Because you just looked as if you were strolling through games.
But in saying that, strolling through games, I mean, everybody looks at that sort of a sweeper role, if that's where you look at Franz Beckenbauer, who played that role, and it was a kind of role where you did look like a cigar. Because you seem to always have bags of time and never under pressure. Everything always was under control, and I think that's why you played that position. And it was playing at the back. You could blame everybody else. You know, it was great at the back, pointing the finger at. You know the people who came after you, Sloop and Jackie Mack. They must have modelled you. That must have been a thing that just kept going. Yeah. Because when playing at Easter Road, you know, it was great. If things weren't, say you'd made a mistake, you could point at John Brownlee. Yeah. And you're talking about one of the best right backs that's ever played in Scotland, in my opinion.
Oh, I thought he was magic.
And when I left there and went to Celtic, I had the nerve to point the finger at Danny.
Good luck.
That didn't go down very well.
Absolutely. I mean, it just shows you. I mean, you talk about John Brownlee. I thought before he broke his leg, John Brownlee was phenomenal, Roughie. Yeah, that as I said, I was looking through scraps from years gone by, and I showed
Peter a photograph of Scotland under 18 side, and John was in it. John was in that side with me under 18, and even at that age, you could see that he was really going to the top.
I played in his first international game in Moscow, and he was outstanding, you know. But there was no telling how good he was going to be. I know he had his injury and he got over it, but there's certain injuries you're not quite over it as like you'd like to be. But before that unfortunate thing, one of the best, I don't think.
Was there a point when you eventually established yourself in the side where you, at what point did you feel as if I belong here with these guys around me, these talented players?
Well, funny, a wee while back there I was talking to John Blackley and another terrific player, and your Alec Cropley, or Gordon, Arthur Duncan, Alec Edwards, not one Scottish cap by the way, Alec Edwards.
Yeah. And
I remember, and John, we're just talking away, and I said, John, at that time, I know we should have won more than we did, and we were competing against one of the best teams in Europe, Celtic at the time. It was a great time to be at Easterwood. It was a special time, and when you look back, it was, like I say, we should have maybe won more, but when you look back, you say, it was good just to be there.
Yeah. What made it special, apart from the fact that you contributed to marvel at your teammates as well in the football that were playing? I mean, you've rhymed off 5 or 6 players there that all had an abundance of talent. Was it even more special off the park because you all, were in close proximity? You were brought up that way.
Yeah. They were off the park. They were friendly as well. You had your disagreements. You always do. That's when you learn, if you have a wee bit of an argument. But just to have been there at that time was great. Yeah.
What about the games? I mean, I always associate Hibs with cup finals. Mm-hmm. I mean, apart from the fact that there was a 2 or 3 year period when I really thought you guys had a real chance of winning the league title, but cup finals were where you seemed to excel.
Yeah, I think same again, that we had chances to even win the cup. We had players that were capable of doing that, and on the day we didn't do it. And there's no point in blaming anybody else than us. We were on the park. It's your fault.
Yeah.
The managers carry the can at times, but no, it's down to the players.
Yeah. What was the ultimate high in a cup final for you? And I mean, the low must have been 72. I mean, that was hard
to bear. You're trying to figure out how you get through the next 2 or 3 days. You're that despondent.
Yeah.
But having like say won the League Cup with the Hibs, and then clinching the league, the Celtic when I went there, then to win the cup at Hampden that day against Rangers. And I can remember sitting in the dressing room, and there's lots of great players play along over the years and win nothing. There was me sitting with a Scottish Cup medal, and Steen just looked at me. He just sort of, "Oh, okay," and that was all he said. But he knew. I was delighted.
Yeah.
I couldn't get home quicker if to show my dad it.
Yeah. And can I ask you something? Did you receive a telegram that day?
Yes, I did. I got quite a few actually.
Yeah.
Got quite a few.
But there was a telegram, was it not from your old teammates?
Yeah, there was, aye. But, because there were, you don't want to embarrass them, people think they were soft, but I got that, and I've still got all these things.
Yeah, I thought that was a great gesture, Roughie. I mean, for you to be in a cup final with a team that, for long enough, you're always regarded as a Hibs legend, but you're playing in a cup final for your ex-Hibs teammates to send you a telegram to wish you all the best. I just thought, nothing to do with soft, everything to do with the class of the men that you played with.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But that's what Pat said, that it was more than a football team, it was a friendship. It was a friendship they had, because even now, they're all still best pals. They all still meet each other, and they still go about together.
I wrote wouldn't have sent a telegram. It meant cost them money.
That gives us a wee insight into him. I'm sure he'll raise a smile at the mere thought of it. So, if they're the highs, was there a moment? I mean, it just shows you the level of the team that we're talking about, Roughie, because Pat's mentioned Hibs. in relation to trying to conquer one of the best teams, in European football, in Celtic. And yet, Rangers were in that division. There was a lot of good teams, at the time when Hibs, were pushing Celtic.
Well, that was an era when I was just starting off, as a professional footballer. And all I remembered was Hibs and Celtic. And I never remember any other finals or semi-final. It was always Hibs, Celtic, Hibs, Celtic all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, coming up in the second part of the programme, hopefully you'll join us tomorrow night to watch the second part of Pat Stanton. We'll talk about 7-0. It's just one of those games that will, I think, forever be remembered, Roughie, and we're going to get Pat's thoughts on that. But 7-0 at Tynecastle.
Yep, and they're the games you want to be on the winning side. You don't want to be on the other side of that. But certainly, it's another one, as far as Hibs and Hearts are concerned, it's one that you will remember.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll talk that 7-0 win. We'll also talk about Napoli, Sporting Lisbon. Yep, Hibs, great games. One that maybe still rankles with Pat against Leeds United, but that's all to come. Join us if you can. More in the Legends series with Pat Stanton tomorrow night.